The most important learning is not to be early, not to be late. You have to be at the very right time because timing is the most important factor in building a successful business.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast, where we will be discussing the struggles and lessons learned along the journey of a seven-figure entrepreneur. It's my great pleasure to welcome our guest today, Kumar Ujwal with DwellFi. Kumar, welcome to the call.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. We're excited to hear a little bit about you and your journey as an entrepreneur. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Kumar, as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, please share with us your story. Where did you start from? Where have you gotten to? Maybe share a few key lessons learned, but ultimately, we just want to hear your journey.
No, thank you. Thank you for the question. So let me start a brief journey where I started, how I landed in the US, and then I'll go into my different entrepreneur journeys and how I got here where I am. So maybe that will be helpful for your listeners. Yeah. So, all right. So I'm an immigrant. I came to US for my undergrad here. After I grew up in India, did my high school there, and then came here. Once I came to the US, started my undergrad in University of Mount Alabama. Studied computer science there. Always was motivated in building things from the very early in my life. So that was one of the kind of my vision from day one, to build something from ground up. And the one thing I realized, that when I came to US, there's, of course, it's called the land of opportunity, and it is actually. You get a lot of opportunity. People encourage you to do things. And while I was in college, I actually experienced that. So I started, like, my very first job at the university was, I was assisting in University of Alabama planetarium department, and then working on some image recognition system back in the days, and when it was not these AI systems were developed, so we were using a lot of old school systems to identify how to basically quantify a weight for a galaxy and a bunch of interesting stuff. And then, but that let me, I got into the real experience of how to interact with, like, different people and different organizations, because when I was doing that we were able to publish some paper, went to like some conferences, and that gives a lot of exposure, which I didn't have when I was growing up in India. And that one thing led to the another. Then I got into another job in the university, did another similar research work, but that was for Department of Navy. There was some research worked on identifying some uh, data around the sailors and all. But that one thing to another, and that was my early career. I would say, where I started in the that was like my very first job in my whole life. And, I had never worked in anything before that. And then, to give you a context, like in India, when you grew up, like in US, how when you grew up, you go and work for different things. Like, you start working very early, and that gives you the sense of independence and all. Uh, when I was growing up in India, it was not like that. So
Okay.
so I went to boarding school, and then I came here. So it was a completely different culture for me. It's a different cultural shift, but there was a sense of entrepreneurship was inside me, which, when I saw this opportunity that, okay, I can be independent and do things, it actually started cultivating. So that was the thing which I'm not sure if I would have stayed in India, I could have done these things or not. But that gave me an exposure here. So then started working one thing to another, then graduated, started working as a software engineer, got my first job. And that when I got my first job, the first thing I realized, that whatever you learned at the school is not gonna be helpful. That was my first thing to learn, that, okay, all the computer science things we learn is not gonna help me here. So I started learning new things and new uh, tools and all those things, which eventually that gives me to the exposure to more broader sense of newer tools, and started interacting with the new applications. And then when I was doing all those things, that's where I realized that okay, it was the early 2010, and then there was the iPhone was introduced in 2007, and then everyone was building applications and app on that time. And 2010 was the time when a lot of tablets and stuff coming in, and people were moving from like desktop to a mobile environment.
Right.
And and then I was also involved in a lot of data analytics things. So these two things together gave me an idea to start something for my own company, and that was my first idea when I started building it. Sorry. At that time, what I was trying to do is build a kind of analytic tools for a small restaurant, like mom and pop shop companies. And the idea was that when you go a large food chain, they have all kind of data and analytics about their restaurant, so they can
Right.
work very efficiently. And if you look at the small mom and pop shop, they don't have. So why not we can provide the similar kind of analytics to them, and then
Yeah.
they can actually be able to be more efficient to work. And the challenge was, okay, how are you going to collect those data from, because they don't have that many tools which a large restaurant chain would have. So that's where this idea came into that we took an, I remember Google launched their first tablet at that time. And then we took that tablet and then built an application on that tablet where basically you can, so it was like early days of kiosk, which kiosk was never there. That's what
Right.
we were doing. So we gave that handover to the tablet to the waiter. They can place order and all. So when they're placing all these orders, basically you're collecting all the data, and then I can show the analytics. Okay, how many foot traffic? How is the foot traffic? What actually is the most popular dish? What is the inventory? All these things, like how long is the wait time for. So all this data we were collecting and providing analytics, and it was doing great. But sooner when we started expanding, there was a challenge that these people wanted us to integrate into a point of sale system, because that was the source of truth. So, and it was very hard to do at that time because most of the point of sale system were on-prem solution, and we were cloud-based solution. So it was not able to integrate, and we were very small guys, so nobody's listening. All these large guys like
Right.
NCR
Right.
never even took interest to speak with us. So, but I got an opportunity to exit the tech, so I did. But the main learning from that thing was uh, that sometimes you are too early in the market for some product. So, and that could be a very challenging. So I don't think so. The most important learning is not to be early, not to be late. You have to be at the very right time, because timing is the most important factor in building a successful business. So that was my key learning from that failure, I would say. And then from there, I moved into uh, basically started working in product management, and then at that time I got into AI, machine learning stuff, because AI was actually booming at that time. That was the, I would say, before this, the early phase of deep learning, when a lot of application, like basically at that time, Inception model, which is one of the early models for
Right.
vision, was trained on the data set. Inception is a Google model, and it was trained on ImageNet, which is a global database for images. And I don't know if it's still running or not, but at that time it was operated by Stanford. And then it was trained on that, and then all of a sudden people started seeing on the videos like, hey, it can identify cat and dog and all those things. So that was the time when I got into this image recognitions. And then there was also the time when self-driving cars started coming into picture, because image deep learning in the image was going really booming at that time. A lot of people were working on that space. So I
Right.
got into that. I started working in product management in like Wells Fargo and a bunch of other stuff companies. But one thing to another uh, took me to another place, which was a early stage startup called Punch. And Punch was actually working in the similar space at that time, which from restaurant. So they were collecting similar data from the point of sale system and then building application on top of that. So I worked. So I joined as a head of product early stage, and then started working on that. The whole idea of like having that data from a POS was amazing because I knew it was very hard from when I was trying to do.
Right,
uh,
right.
and then and Punch founders, they basically spend a lot of time early days to actually fix that problem, to have that native integration with every POS. And once you have that, then you have all the data, and then once you have the data, then you can build any application. So
Right.
that was a kind of light bulb moment for me. So I joined, and then we built the product, and then the company started growing. It grew really fast. From there, went from almost 50 million ARR, 4 years. Almost we sold to every single food chain restaurant, like you name it, all the big guys, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, and everyone. And that was a great learning for me because I literally learned, worked with the CEO. His name is Sham. He's a very good, great guy. He hired me, and I learned a
Awesome.
lot from him. And that was like the timing when I saw a company like growing from like a zero to a hyperscale, and in very small time, in a very fast pace. That was the real experience of a startup,
Yeah.
Bay Area startup for me. And during that time I learned a lot, like how to build a company, how to do all those things. And then after that exit, then when I decided to like do my own stuff, start again my startup, at that time I tried to build another company in between DwellFi and then Punch. It was a revenue. What I was trying to do was, one of the big problem which I saw, especially living in the Bay Area, was the housing market was super expensive, so people don't have opportunity to build equity in the early stage of their life. And
Hmm.
equity is the most important. Like if you want to have a wealth in the longer term, that starts with the equity, not with the cash or sharing your
Right.
time and all those things. And house was one of the things which you can easily build equity from the early stage. But in Bay Area, it's super expensive. So we built a product, the revenue. The product was basically, we built that if anyone wants to get a loan for the, so it's a down payment assistance program. That was the product. And basically there was a pool of investors who can invest into this in your down payment and get a portion of an equity, but now it enables you to buy the equity, buy a house early stage, and you still own a portion of equity. So
Right.
that was the thing which we were doing. But that whole, when I started building it, I learned a lot about the mortgage industry. What are the different kind of regulations are, red tape, where you can do this thing, where you cannot do this thing. It was just a lot of learning, but eventually that didn't work out well, so we had to shut down. But that learning was very helpful for me. But the main stuff I learned from that one is like the whole real estate infrastructure and how it basically works, the regulations and all. Then in between that, that's where when I was transiting, I decided to start DwellFi. And the early stage, the DwellFi was like transition was from the same idea of real estate, and we decided to, okay, how we go from there, and then enable the same thing utilizing a blockchain technology. Because the revenue, and the idea of the revenue was somehow related to a fractional ownership, because there is an investor who owns your house, you own your house, and a bank owns your house. So
Right.
there are three parties who own the house. But because of the regulations and all, it was very complex to actually implement that thing. That's where when we pivoted and started DwellFi, we realized that there is a way to do this is utilizing blockchain. And the reason why it all started is because in 2021 or some, I don't exactly remember this time, but uh, uh, Wyoming passed a law that where you can create a LLC on blockchain. So it's called DAO LLC, and that decentralized autonomous organization. Basically, it's a company. But what it allows you to do, that once you able to create an LLC on chain, you can have a fractional ownership of multiple people in that, and you can do all. You can have a proof of ownership on chain, which is basically immutable, and then you can do all these transactions based on who owns what, like their ownership of the
Oh,
record.
okay.
That gives you an idea of how you can basically bring a fractional ownership of real estate on chain. And that's how we transited from revenue to DwellFi, and that's where the DwellFi was born. And uh, when I was doing this, there was another learning I got from there was when we first what we did is we actually bought a house in Maryland and then took an Wyoming LLC in Wyoming and then put that house in that LLC and fractionalized it and went through the whole process end to end and it worked. Once that worked through the regulations and all, because we had to go through all the learning which I got from the real estate,
Right.
how the mortgage and everything will work here. So we implemented it and it worked. Actually, legal framework was ready for that, and then also the blockchain technology was ready. Then we decided to. At that time, I was also at Stanford doing my Ignite uh, course. I met with another entrepreneur there, and he actually had a friend who had a house in New Jersey, Hoboken. Not house, like a big apartment building. It was like
Okay.
$100 million asset. So he was intrigued with the idea that how we can leverage that and then implement this into fractional ownership of that whole building. So we took one of the apartment and said like, how about this $1 million apartment? Let's take that, put it in the same structure, like put it in the marketplace and see how it works. And if it works, yes, you have the whole $100 million apartment building. You can fractionalize it. So
Right.
awesome! This is like the greatest thing. I don't have to put any money to buy a house, and we have this asset to do this. So we took this $1 million apartment and tried to do that, and then we realized that it didn't work. So
Okay.
now again, there was a lot of learning from that, and there was two major things which we learned from that. One, it is a really high touch product. That means when you are doing this fractionalized ownership, you actually own the property, and then you have to do property management. You have to do take care of like a bunch of other regulations in that one.
Right.
Plus, when you're selling to the people, you have to enable that whole management, people management. That is another challenge, and then basically giving them proceeds. Someone wants to stay. There's so much of complexity when
Right.
you when it comes to execution of this idea. Idea is super awesome, but when you come into execution, is very hard and very tough. And you can do it in a sense, but it will require a lot of capital, initial capital. And second, scaling is a big challenge in that. Because now think about like you take this property in Hoboken, New Jersey. Now you want to do it in California and like different places. And now you have to have people everywhere operating, and it
Right.
becomes really capex heavy product and company. And that's where we realized, no, it's a great idea, but it's not going to work. You cannot build $1 billion business out of this. Let's pivot. And then that's where we uh, decided to pivot. And then uh, my co-founder Deepak, he used to work at Citadel. Uh, so basically, at that time, we decided like how we can took this the whole concept of what we have done and implement into uh, private market. And the reason when we decided to go into the private market is because we were talking to a lot of at that time when we were trying to do implement this, we were talking to a lot of real estate funds and all those things, and few of these interactions provided us that information that it's basically not going to work in this space, but there is some room in this area. But also, what happened is at the same time, while after the exit, I set up a VC fund on site to invest into early stage startup and all, and we were doing that investment. We did 32 companies so far, and then I was also doing a GPU financing through a private credit fund, and that thing led me into the back end of the finance world.
Okay.
And that's where I learned there's so many inefficiency in this system, and all the things which we were building utilizing blockchain, it makes absolute sense to bring that technology into this back end of this finance world. And it checked all the boxes that it's not a high touch product. You need to it bring more efficiency. It immediately reflect the dollar value on their every client's books. So
Okay.
it's there's a very less resistance to sell this product when you prove the value add.
Right.
And technology was there. It's just that no one was entering into this market. And the reason why not a lot of people were not entering in this market is two. One, of course, is a boring business. And then second, to get into this finance world, someone coming from tech, you have to get into that side of the world where you learn, where you see this. Most of the time, only finance people, accountant people, legal people are seeing that side of the world. And they're not the tech people, so they're not building anything, correct?
Right.
So when I started this credit fund and VC fund, and I got into the backside, but I was coming from a tech world, so I got a glimpse of that. Okay, how messy this is, and that's the opportunity. That was the pivot of DwellFi, and then we started building. So we took the same idea of the blockchain, basically minting every single information on a blockchain, on a public ledger blockchain, build a smart contract, all those things, and that's where we started the DwellFi. And we had a design partner customer. We talked to several of these customers. One of the customers were very interested in it was Voyager Pacific, and it's $100 million fund. They decided to partner with us, help us as the design partners, and build things early days, and then took it from there to the other customers. And then while we were doing this, we learned a lot more, that we were collecting more and more data and then utilizing blockchain. At that same time, we saw that all these things which we are collecting the data has intelligence. And then there's a lot of manual process happening in the backend. So why not start making automation workflows to automate their, like, because we were interacting with these fund managers and then administrators, fund administrator, and they were telling us like, hey, this is the problem, this is the problem. And it's like, it was very clear for us that, hey, these things can be solved. The only thing is, like, I don't think so a lot of people are seeing this, that there is a way to solve this problem. So we started building that application, and then eventually while we were doing all those things, it eventually evolved into this product. So in a sense, like, started somewhere else, but it morphed into this product which exists today. It's not like we visioned and we wanted to build this.
Right.
So that's where we build this. Now it's more like a product market fit and a real product, which is basically a fund data platform, because it brings all the data. And then we have two services. One is tokenization service and AI services, because now we have a very clear picture because we understood all this thing. Right. But ideally, if you look at it, started somewhere else and it morphed into something else. So the learning from all these doing this is the most important learning, which even my early days investors says, is persistence. So if you want to build a startup or a software, anything, persistent is the key. No matter what, there will be a lot of hiccups, but as long as you are moving to the right direction, and the way to move in the right direction is every step you take, judge yourself, see what you are learning, and it's not like every step will be right step. So you should be ready to take a step back and then take the other route. And that's how you moving forward every day. As long as you're moving forward, even at one step, you'll get to that destination. But the point is, like, getting every day and then have that persistence and resilience that when you wake up in the morning, you're ready to, like, no matter what, I have to move forward and I have to do this. And that's the most important thing for building anything, like doing anything in the life. It's like, that book which called Atomic Habits. Okay. It's the same thing. Like, you take a big task, you'll never be able to do it. You break down the task into small thing, you're able to do it. The same thing is in this business. If you think about the end day of a $1 billion product, you will never be able to reach there. You just have a vision where you have to go. Great. To get to that point, there is like several paths. The thing is, like, every day you have to move forward towards that path, take a step back, go a step further, take a step back, go for a step further, get to the right path. And once you get to the right path, then it's a hockey stick. But to get to that hockey stick, it takes time. So that was the learning. And and now we are here.
That was an awesome story. Kumar, I appreciate you sharing that. I love your intentionality around saying, hey, each time that something didn't work, I learned so much, so that then when I was ready to pivot, I knew how to pivot and where to pivot. And then I kept having this vision of where I thought I was going to go. But then as I learned more, I realized, no, actually, I need to go this direction. So you throughout your whole journey, you shared, or you showed and exhibited this idea or concept of, hey, I'm going to learn as much as I can about each of these steps along my path. And as I learn, I'm going to use that new information to redirect and pivot based on that opportunity to learn. And you didn't see these opportunities that you had as failures. You saw them as opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Where you were able to continue to grow and develop. Love those lessons learned. Thank you so much for sharing. Just a great example of, hey guys, we got to persevere. We have to keep working forward, keep moving forward. That's how we're going to see the results. And just because something doesn't work out, that doesn't mean that we didn't learn and grow and we can't still reach our destination. It just means, okay, let's take a second, like you stated, let's take a step back, turn, and go 2 steps that way as we continue on this journey. Love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, great. All right, well, Kumar, you shared with us how you got to where you're at now. So now you're doing your thing. It's awesome. You know, you found a need, you filled that need, you're working on providing value. Now, let's change directions just a little bit and let's talk about your team and you as a leader. So as it pertains to you striving to continue be the leader that you want to be within your organization and you're building and developing your team, what's something you're dealing with real time right now that we can have a conversation about?
Yeah. So one of the things, another learning was while building all these things is like when you build a team and you hire people, the way to hire people, and this is again after multiple failures, I learned. Hired a lot of people, but it was the wrong hire, and then again I hired new people. But the
Right.
way to do that is when you hire your first layer. Basically, you are looking for the people who are like you, they think like you, and then those are the people who are going to build the next layer. But then when they are building the next layer, they are also thinking the same way. So the whole company, when you build, has the similar mindset. It is very challenging to do that because it's a lot of iteration, but at least, and the other important thing is like you cannot do it to up until bottom. It's
Right.
just impossible to do it. But the important thing to do it is the first couple of layers, the first and second layer. If you can manage to do that, then the rest will automatically be there like 80%, which is good enough for you to get where you want to get. So, and that is very challenging. So we started, like when I started building the team, we hired me and my co-founder, we hired like right people in both of our orgs. And then so far it's going good, but again the big challenge for us is when you're scaling a company, you need to hire the more and more people like you or similar type of mindset, and that becomes very challenging. That it's hard to find uh, the right kind of talent which you are looking for, and because one, of course, market is very competitive. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of good companies, and people have choice. But at the same time, so convincing people that they have to agree with you, but also they have to buy in the vision, correct?
Yep.
That what you're going to do can align with their vision, their mindset, their goals in their life. So it's become challenging. Like the early hires in a startup or any business is always challenging, and having them the right motivation that they stays with you, because once the the worst thing is like you hire the right talent and then 2 months or 6 months or a year they leave. That's like the biggest setback because now you are like 6 months back and you
Right.
have to do the same process and find the right people. So having them the right motivation so they stick with you for the long haul, that's also critical.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
and the other
absolutely.
thing I will say is, and I don't know how the other companies, but in our company, when we are building a tech company, we have like two important things. One is the business side, and one is the the tech side. It's very important to first of all both the founders need to be understand the tech, but I also it's important to both of the founders to agree on like how they build the company. So
Yeah.
clear sense of responsibility. So fortunately, me and my co-founder is like friends for ever, like from childhood. So so
Nice.
that's good for us. So we know each other. We know our mentality. We know how, and we respect each other's talent and everything. So in that case, but the way it's done that He understands his sense of responsibility and what he owns, and I understand what I own, and we both mutually help each other wherever is needed. And then that way you can build a successful company. That you have one less thing to think about. You
Right.
don't have to think about the business. I don't have to think about a tech because I completely rely on him. He completely rely on me. And once we get time, we go over, discuss all those things. That where we are, we make mutual decisions. But when we are executing, I 100% rely on him because I believe whatever he is executing is right, and he believes that what I'm executing is right. That is one of the very, very critical thing to build a successful company.
So love that. So here at Elite, we do something similar with the pattern, and we say, hey, vision is threefold. So when we talk about our vision, we think about it in three different ways. Vision is purpose. Your purpose, that's your why you're doing what you're doing, why you get out of bed each morning, right? That's this 100-year away thing that you're never actually going to accomplish, but you're constantly striving for, right? Then we think of values, and your values are who you are and how you show up. Now that's that magnet pull that you were talking about. It's, hey, how do we find people that are similar to us so that we can align, have that clarity and alignment with all of us to make sure that we're constantly striving for our purpose, right? And then the last thing in vision that we talk about is your mission. So your mission is a defined, clearly stated destination. Hey, in the next 3, 4, 5 years, this is where we're going to go, and this is what we're going to do and accomplish, right? And so as a leader, we look at it and say, hey, as a leader, you have three jobs, 3 roles is all, right? You are to set the vision, build the team, and deliver results, right? So setting the vision is constantly telling people and talking about your purpose and your values and bringing up that emotional side of the business so that you're gaining people's loyalty through, hey, come be with us because this is this thing we're going to go after and accomplish. You're sharing your mission, right? And this is who we are and how we show up. Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm totally like that. I want to be around people like me. And then this purpose is something that's like, yes, I can get behind that. And I'm going to give you my discretionary effort to accomplish that and work towards that because that's bigger than me and that's awesome. And that's more important to me than just coming to work, clocking in, getting a paycheck and clocking out, right? So now I'm motivated and I'm excited. We're going to go after and do this thing. We have this mission. We're all alike because we all share the same core values and we all believe just dearly in this purpose of why we do what we do, right? And then building the teams then becomes easier because then now as you share this vision, it's a very strong magnet. It either attracts people that are similar to you or detracts people that aren't. They'll look at that and go, oh yeah, that's not me. I don't want to have anything to do with them.
Yeah.
Others are like, yes, please. How do I come work for you? That's exactly what I want to be doing. I'm totally connected to your purpose. That's exactly how I show up every day and who I am. I want to be part of this, right? And then delivering results, that is, hey, as a leader, it's my responsibility to ensure that everybody has what they need to be able to be successful. So I'm not working in the business, I'm working on the business.
Yeah.
I'm not sucked down into the day-to-day. I'm going to let them do that, and then I'm going to help them succeed, and all of us are going to succeed because I'm going to provide them the opportunities, the resources, everything they need to be successful. And then in the center of this is this word or idea of care. We have to care about the purpose and we have to care about the individual. And as long as we're doing that as a leader, then we're succeeding. And that's how you get that clarity and alignment throughout your whole organization is, hey, we're talking about our vision all the time. And as a leader, I'm telling it, and then the next layer down, they're talking about it all the time. And then that's how it gets down to the bottom. So you talked about how, hey, you have to have this first layer completely bought in, and then it won't always trickle all the way down. That's how you trickle it all the way down, is you talk about all the time. You're talking about it. You're engaged in it. Anytime that you're together, you're like, yeah. And this core value of ours showed up in this situation. Okay, we have this problem. How are we going to solve it? Well, does it serve our purpose?
Yeah.
Is it going to help us achieve our mission? If it does, okay, then we want to go full force on this. If it doesn't do one of those things, hey, maybe it's better to choose not to do this. So then now you have this next level filter of decision making throughout the entire company. everybody in your organization can now quickly identify, hey, does it serve our purpose? Is it going to help us reach our mission? If so, awesome. I'm going to put in everything. If not, I'm going to question whether or not this is something that I should be doing. And that's how we continue to see that work throughout the organization. We have that.
100% agree with you. That's how you basically get the whole idea to the entire company, and how they all are motivated, and how everyone is on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Kumar, this has just been an absolute blast talking with you. Thank you again so much for joining us. For those of you who are listening in, I hope you really paid attention to those key lessons that Kumar brought up, that we're intentional about doing the work and pushing forward and persevering, because that's how we're going to start to see the results. And you need to be comfortable and okay with the understanding of, hey, if this isn't going to work out, that's okay. I'm going to learn a lot. I'm going to take a step back, and then I'm going to move forward in a different direction from the information and knowledge that I learned. So great example. I hope that you all listened in on that. For those of you who are just excited about Kumar and his company and what they're working on and want to reach out to him, Kumar, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can email me at kumar@dwell.fi, or you can reach out on my LinkedIn. You can also reach out to me on Twitter, but mostly LinkedIn and email is the perfect way to reach out.
Fantastic. Well, you heard him say it, folks. If you're interested, reach out to him. And then, as always, if you heard something today that you're like, yes, I need to start doing that in my business, please, please, please take action. Even if it's just one thing, take action, implement it, and see what happens. You're never going to know that new next thing that you need till you actually put forth the effort and move forward on it. So please do that. And then again, if you heard something today, you're like, you know what? I have a friend or a colleague or a fellow business owner that they could really benefit from hearing this. Please share this podcast with them. Let's spread as much value as we can with as many people as we can. Well, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure today. And this concludes another episode of the 7-Figure Journey podcast. Thanks again, Kumar. And to everybody else, take care. Have a good one.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.